Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I am actually going to do a what I spend in a week as a student living in London. So basically I wrote down every single thing that I spent last week. I'm just going to talk you through every single day and then go through categories and tips and tricks and stuff. So yeah, if you are interested in seeing what I spend and just get an idea of how much it costs to live in London because it's so expensive, then carry on watching. So I just want to note that I do set myself a basic budget every week, but every single week is so different. But I wouldn't say this week is completely out of the blue or out of the ordinary, but there's different events that are different every week, but there's always something that will cost a similar amount of money. So I try and be strict on myself, but I'm still a student and I want to live my life and do some fun things. So I'm going to talk about how I make money as well, so you can be a little more lenient on your spending or save more depending on your priorities basically. I actually had a day off from my drama school university, which is rare because I'm normally in Monday to Friday from 9 till 6 around that time. But we just had a random day off, I think because some teachers weren't in. So I actually went to central London this day to go to a job interview for the job that I've currently got now, and I have worked a few shifts since. So obviously I wouldn't normally travel into central London on like a Monday, but I did this morning and I spent £13 on the tube and back. I actually went a bit around London because I went to my job interview, which was about 45 minutes away, and then I went to the National Theatre from there, and then I went back to where I live. So it doesn't cap at £7 because I'm coming from a bit further out than the central zone, so it does normally cost around £13 to travel in to London and back, which obviously is a really expensive journey and something that I can't make often, and I normally limit myself to one trip a week. But obviously this was for work, so I did have to go in for the interview, which was fine. But when I was there, I was actually like 40 minutes early because I didn't know where it was and I wanted to make sure I was getting there with good time. So I had so much time to spare, so I sat in Costa and I bought a small oat milk latte, and that was £3.85, which is the most expensive small oat milk latte I've had. Normally not that expensive in the Costa near me, but yeah, for some reason I guess it was because it was really central London. And then on the way home I did pop into Sainsbury's and I paid for one of the vegan Cadbury's bars, which was £2.50 just as like a weekly treat. So that was all I spent on Monday, and I spent £19.35 literally just on like a coffee, some train tickets and a chocolate bar. On Tuesday I needed to go to a charity shop because I needed to find a black shirt for work, because obviously I got the job and I was starting my shift that week, but I actually couldn't find a black shirt. But I did find this really nice pink shirt from the charity shop and it was £4.29, so I did buy it. I probably shouldn't have, but I really liked it and it was fairly cheap. But that was all I spent on Tuesday. I didn't spend anything else. And then Wednesday and Thursday I actually spent nothing. I try not to spend stuff unnecessarily, and it also means if I spend little in the week I can spend more on a weekend if I'm going out or something. So I bring my lunches with me. I have a coffee machine at home, so I try not to like go out for coffee as much as possible, and I'll just go to East 15, bring my lunch with me, eat there. I have a microwave in our little like green room area, so I can have hot lunches, bring my own for free. So that was really good, and I did happen to have a lot of food in the freezer anyway, which I'll talk more about in the budgeting section, but I didn't need to buy any food shop so far. But then on Friday it was a little bit more expensive because I got a coffee in the morning. I think this was on my break actually. It was a really long day because Fridays we finish at 6:10 and it really drags. But I actually thought I had a free coffee from my app, but I realized my points didn't scan after I bought it, but I bought it anyway. It was £3.28 for a medium oat milk latte with caramel, which I think is pretty good. The week after I ended up getting my coffee for free, so I guess it kind of cancels it out. That evening I did the rest of my weekly shop. I spent £20.24 in Sainsbury's, and I don't like do a weekly shop on Sunday for the week. I'll just do it when I kind of run out of food, so I happened to do this one on Friday because I could have gone the whole week without it, which is good. And the reason why I went to Sainsbury's and not Aldi, I'll normally do the bulk of my shop in Aldi and then get extra things like tofu and stuff in Sainsbury's, but I had the most of the stuff that I needed already. But my friend Felicia came round for dinner because we went to see a theatre show that night. Luckily the theatre shows at East 15 are free for students, so I didn't end up spending any money other than food, but I wanted to cook us some food, so I made sweet and sour tofu and got all the ingredients from Sainsbury's. But yeah, I just needed stuff like tofu, plant-based milk and things like that, so that's what I got, and I spent around £20 in Sainsbury's, which isn't the best, but it's not awful, especially because it's the first time I spent money on food that week. However, Saturday is where it goes kind of downhill. This day really let me down in terms of my budget, but the week before I spent absolutely nothing on the weekend. I had a theatre trip booked for ages this weekend, which is why I spent money, because I travelled into London and I did a few things with Lucy. But I'm still including this in because it is very realistic, because when you go to uni, different plans pop up at different times, and I'd say when I spend so much money on one week, I don't spend as much the next week, so it kind of just changes with the times. But yeah, I'm just going to talk you through everything that I spent on Saturday. So we planned to go and see Little Women the musical, but I bought these tickets literally ages ago and they were only like £20, but I bought these like months ago, so I'm not going to include them in this weekly budget. Basically got the train with the Lucy to Stratford first because we went to a vintage fair, and I spent £11 on a black coat, which I absolutely love and I have worn it to death, so it was definitely a really good purchase. I wasn't really planning on spending much, but I really like this and I think it's a really good buy. And then we got the train to central London. All in all that day I spent £10 on train tickets, so we went to Stratford, then Stratford to Central, then Central back to where I live, and that capped at £10, which again is quite expensive, but it's been a plan that we've had for ages. And then whilst we were in central London, this is where it gets a bit expensive, because we went to Leon on Regent Street and I spent £10 and 3 pence on a burger, a cookie and some mac and cheese bites, which was really good, because we didn't bring any lunch with us and we just planned to have like a day out and a lunch in London, so £10 for a full meal I don't think is too bad in Central. And then I also got a Starbucks, which was £4.15, not even a large. It was ridiculous. I think I got a small, but I guess that's what you get for central London. Again, didn't need to buy that, and like looking back I now know I should probably not buy as much coffee in the week. But we had a party that night back where I live and I spent absolutely nothing because I don't drink, so I can factor other things instead of drink, which is why I don't feel as guilty for like buying an extra coffee a week or something, because I know if I drank I would have spent a lot more money. On Saturday I actually spent £35 and 18 pence for a full day out in London and a new coat, which I think is really good, to be fair, and like I said, it doesn't happen often, so it's nice for a little one-off treat. On Sunday, I had my first ever shift at work. I spent £6.60 on the tube to work and back. £6.60 seems cheaper than the other days because it wasn't in peak times, because I travelled back at like 11:30 at night. I've also noticed, depending on the times, depends on how much more expensive the trains are, so I wasn't too mad about that. But basically, because it was my first shift, I was really nervous and I didn't know how much time I would have. I didn't know if I could eat because it was really late at night, long hours, so I did go to prep before because I wanted to make sure I was really early, and I spent £9.74 for lunch, and basically I bought it and it was really valuable because the food there wasn't vegan, so I had to have it anyway. I bought lunch that I could keep in my bag and have on shift, which I don't do now. That was my first shift and I've had shifts since, and I've worked out how to plan my timing better and bring lunch with me. So again, that was like something, I feel like I've had a lot of firsts this week that I just wanted to make sure I was prepared, and I kind of relied on the things around me. But now I am in more of a routine with work and shifts and traveling and stuff, so I know how to like make lunches and stuff. So yeah, that again was an extra expense that I didn't need to make, but I did spend £16.34 on the train and the lunch. So the total for the week was £98.68, which I budget £80 a week. So I did go £18.68 over. It's really annoying that I went over, but again, I'll just factor that in and spend less the week after, and I actually spent less the week before. And then I thought I'd quickly talk you through my other expenses for the month, which come out at different times. So my monthly rent goes out on the 13th every month. My phone bill, I pay £70 once a month. I also have a Spotify and an Amazon Prime, but I make sure they're all student. Spotify and Amazon Prime is less than £10 a month combined, and I use Amazon Prime because when I need more small business bags and stuff, I really rely on getting them quickly, so that's really useful expense for me. I pay for Spotlight, acting website, which is £10 a month, and I haven't actually been charged for any of our household bills yet. My rent isn't included in my bills just because they're paid, I think, like every half yearly or something, so I might get a big shock when they come through. But we were told to like budget around £40 a month, but obviously it'll be more expensive in winter and cheaper in summer, so I guess it just depends. So that is basically everything that I spend as a student. I know this is going to be a lot for some people and really little for others, but I don't live in central London. I live almost on the outskirts, so that is cheaper in terms of rent price and also cost of living. My groceries are cheaper than if I go into central London. Like even my coffee is cheaper here than in central London. So I guess if you did live in central London, I would be adding like another £20 onto that. And then yeah, tips on how you can budget, save money and earn money. So I think having different sources of incomes is really important. Obviously I have my small business, which is a godsend, something that I really love. It doesn't feel like work, but I also sell clothes on Depop, and then I recently got a job which I'm working as a waiter or bar staff for an events agency, which if you're in London there are absolutely loads of these, and the reason why I think this is so good is because it's completely flexible. So say if I want to work this weekend, I can just ring up and say I'd like a shift, like what is available, and they pay really well, but I don't have to work within 6 months before they ask me to retrain, which is so important, not only as a student but also as an actor, because the one thing I hated about having a job is I felt like my life really revolved around it, and I had to worry about booking time off for Christmas because I wanted to go home and just having a life. But this is like, my life is a priority, and this is just an added bonus when I need extra money, and it's not going to get in the way, and I really enjoy the work. I've had 2 shifts. I had those on the weekend, and now I'm not booked in because I just needed a bit of a break. We've got performance week and I'm going home soon, and then I'll pick some more shifts up in the new year and stuff like that. So I really recommend you looking into event agency work. I don't know why I didn't think of this before. I guess it's not really much of a thing where I live back home, but in London there's so many different event agencies. And then I actually have a monthly financial spreadsheet. Basically, it's just a huge spreadsheet of loads of different categories. Every single month I will go through my bank statement and write down every single thing that I've spent. So once I've finished, I know exactly how much I've spent that month on food, on travel, on gifts and stuff like that, on bills. It's really good to see of anything that stands out, anything that's unusual, and I can track my payments if I need to chase anything up or if I've been overcharged for something. But it's also really great to be like, oh wow, I spent way too much money on food this month. Next month I can work on reining it in, spending less, and I can just see patterns. And it's so helpful and important to be on top of your money, because it's so easy to just, you know, just spend so easily with Apple Pay on your phone and not track it, but you don't realize how quickly things add up, and also you don't realize the things that you probably don't need to be spending, and there are different ways about it. So just kind of being conscious and tracking your spending habits, I think is such a good habit to get into, and I really recommend that you make a spreadsheet. You can do it on like Google Sheets or Edexcel. It's super easy, or you can even do it write it down. It's just really good to see common patterns and work on reducing costs when I've noticed that there's really high cost that I don't need. Then I think budgeting is really important. So how I budgeted and basically how I decided that £80 a week is a good budget for me to set is I wrote down all my expenses, literally everything that I needed to spend, and then worked how much money I'd have left from my income, and then budget different categories. So I'll look at my monthly spreadsheet and see an average of how much I'm spending on food, and then divide it by a weekly amount, and just basically giving myself a budget. So if I go over, it's okay, but I just know that if I'm in budget, I'm doing really well, and I don't really need to rely on looking for extra sources of income because I'm fine with what I've got. I also look for discounts, so I found discount on Spotify and Amazon, and I cancelled some subscriptions that I thought wasn't necessary. But I think it's also really important to still have a life and still have the things that you enjoy. Having this budget and this spreadsheet and basically just taking ownership of your money, you can then make an adult decision on whether, if you really want something, then you're just going to have to work or just find some extra income that month and just make those sacrifices in different ways. And then also sustainability and just knowing that we live in a consumerist society. So if I want to buy something, I will sleep on it for a week or two, and if I still really want it by the end of that week and I found like a cheapest option and the most sustainable option, then I'll get it. But just being really conscious of what you buy and knowing that we really don't need to buy things all the time and it's really unnecessary, and only buying the things that you really want and then you've really thought about consciously and with time. That's basically all I spent this week, all of my tips, kind of the categories and the way I go about budgeting. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments below. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. Give it a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you in my next video.